Welcome to Hideout,
the institute where we train you to be your very own hero.
Alright guys, and in today's video we're going to be discussing hypertrophy and what that actually means, what that entails when it comes to your programming and your goals. So just a quick little breakdown of what hypertrophy is. It simply just means that you're going to be increasing the size of your muscle tissue, right? Down to the cellular level and what it takes to actually to do that when it comes to increasing your muscle mass.
Yeah, kind of like in the DBZ boys when they were in the hyperbolic time chamber during the Cell Saga. It was Goku, Trunks, Vegeta. When they went from Super Saiyan to Ascended Super Saiyan, they had a dramatic increase in their muscle mass. So this is what you would think of as hypertrophy. And there's actually two types of hypertrophy for those of you who didn't know. There's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and there's myofibrillar hypertrophy. And
I'm going to be touching about the sarcoplasmic, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, hypertrophy.
It's not the easiest word.
You know, it's not. Which is just an increase of muscle glycogen storage, which is just a way to make sure that your muscle has what it takes, the nutrients that it needs, that got slight retention of water, which isn't a bad thing. I know a lot of people accumulate that to blow. I'm like, that's not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, think about it like this: carbohydrate. In order for the carbohydrate to actually be put into the muscle cell, it needs a water molecule. So when glycogen is stored, it's not only sugar in there, but it's also the water molecule inside the muscle that expands the muscle out.
Which is what you need to actually get the nutrients in there in the first place. Which also helps with like your recovery when it comes to just energy in general. Because like remember, you're going to be working it out, you're going to be tearing it up. You're going to need that excess amount of energy to come from somewhere, and this is just how your body functions to make sure it can actually do the job that it needs to do, so that you can recover, two, you can train again, recover, train again, and etc. Yeah.
So kind of like when you think of when you're bulking, when you're trying to put on more lean muscle tissue, you want to be taking an adequate amount of energy, being carbohydrates and fats as well. Of course, you want your protein for the building blocks, but you need an optimal amount of carbohydrates and fats to fuel up that muscle cell, so the nutrients can be uptaken into that muscle cell, so you can actually have an environment that is catered towards growth, which is the anabolic environment. Now, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, sorry if we get a little tongue twisted here, so we apologize for that, but sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is not correlated with an increase of strength, okay? Because this is so much more so that the muscle cells are getting expanded out, not so much more so that they're becoming stronger, because we're about to go over myofibrillar hypertrophy, which is what leads into more muscle strength. The reason being, myofibrillar hypertrophy actually is an increase in more muscle protein, the protein that contract each other, the myosin and actin. They increase, which when they contract produce more force, in turn produces more strength.
So pretty much all that jargon, right? Pretty much just means is that those muscle fibers, because they're so dense, they're going to be able to produce more force. Yes. You're going to get stronger.
So a good example of myofibrillar hypertrophy would be like a power lifter. Not so much a giant jack power lifter like you would think Dan Green, but more so like a leaner power lifter, like someone who's maybe like $145, $160, who can deadlift like 500 to 600 pounds.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they may not have the biggest like glutes, quads. You know, they may have a decent size, but they may not be massive. Now that's myofibrillar hypertrophy because they have very dense muscle. Now the reason it's so dense is there's a lot of protein filaments in there that produce more force, which in turn turns into more strength. Okay, so that's myofibrillar hypertrophy.
Yeah, and so optimally, if you're trying to get stronger and bigger at the same time, you're gonna have to figure out how to program both systems of hypertrophy into your program to make sure that you get to your goals. So like a good example for that would be like, if you look at most strict athletes, not necessarily just power lifters, but like Olympic lifters, the guys that do the cleans and snatches, strongmen, just people that are just not just big, but they have a lot of strength and movement behind their size.
Yeah, so you're thinking like Bjornsson. Like they're just massive humans with a large amount of muscle mass on their skeletal frame, and on top of that, they're very, very strong. So that's what you would think would be optimizing both types of hypertrophy. To go into like more of the anime, Izuku Midoriya, for those of you who watch My Hero Academia, he was given the quirk one for all. Now this is a very powerful quirk, which is a power. So for those of you who don't watch anime, this is his
superpower.
Yeah, his hero power.
Yeah.
And his body can't take it because it's too weak. So he undertakes strength training for both hypertrophy and for strength. So it's both sarcoplasmic and myofibrillar hypertrophy being utilized. And throughout the 10 months that he trains, he increases his lean muscle tissue, and he also increases his strength and power output during this time by undertaking specific programming that All Might gives him.
Which, if All Might gives it to you, I mean, the guy weighs 600 pounds. So
yeah, and he's completely lean. So
I would probably run that program myself. All right, guys, and that's all we got for you today. Hopefully, you guys learned a thing or two. Hopefully, you guys tune in again next week or whenever we decide to post this video.
Yeah.
And you got, of course, obviously, if you guys have any other questions, please leave them down in the comments below. If there's any type of training system that you guys are running and you guys have questions about whether or not it's optimal for your goals, just leave that down in the comments, and Jacob and I will obviously get to that as soon as we can.
Yeah, as soon as possible. And our next video will be going over training protocols to maximize both sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and myofibrillar hypertrophy. So stay tuned for that.
So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz so that you don't miss out.
Yep.
All right, guys. And until next time.